Hello, my cherry tomatoes. It is I, Queen Tomatoda. So on my YouTube channel, I have a few videos about my Artist Alley setup journey and experience. And I like my latest setup. I've had it for about a year and a half now. It might change in the future, but not anytime soon. It's something that I've settled with. So I feel like that part of my journey is currently at a stop, which is why those series of videos is also currently at a stop. But when I'm tabling at conventions, I have at least like 2 or 3 people who come up to me and say that they know me from my Artist Alley videos. So first of all, I want to say thank you guys for coming up to me and saying hi and for, stroking my ego. Second of all, I'm sorry I'm a little bit awkward. I kind of freeze during those moments. I mean, actually, I freeze a lot during like social interaction moments. So there might be like an awkward reaction, but I am actually really thankful and I really appreciate it. Third of all, I want to say that it like especially makes me happy that you guys say my videos helped you in some way, because I'm always questioning myself like, why am I doing this? But it's always in the hopes of helping, which is why I am also making this video, because one time a few years ago, someone somewhere, I don't know if it was Instagram or YouTube, but somebody asked me for a video going over like materials or things to consider when creating your Artist Alley setup. Also, to be honest, I don't even know if that was the exact request, but it was something along those lines because I had it written down in my like videos to-do list and now I'm finally tackling it. So I'm very sorry that this is like years later, but here it is. Besides the actual materials that you're gonna need for your setup, like panels, stands, hooks, maybe lighting, containers, etc. These are just some suggestions I want to give you to consider when building your setup. I'm going to categorize it into 3 topics. 1, display, 2, behind the scenes, and 3, a checklist item. Disclaimer, this is just my opinion from my experience, and I want this video to be catered to those who are new, those who are like just beginning and need some ideas on what to prepare. Feel free to add any more tips I didn't mention, but if you think are important, in the comment box below. And another disclaimer I want to say is that this is specifically for Artist Alley, like anime or comic convention Artist Alleys. Events like art market fairs that are usually held outside in a tent and stuff like that, that's a whole nother beast. They are different, not just physically, but like customer mentality wise. So I'm going to be speaking based on like indoor events, pop culture events. Not all conventions provide tablecloths, and I learned that the hard way because the first convention I ever did, they did not have a tablecloth, so I had to rush to Walmart and get something on the spot. Typically, tables at Artist Alleys will be 6 to 8 feet long and about 2 feet wide. So get a tablecloth that fits an 8-foot table because it's easier to go from 8 foot to 6 foot, but you can't go from 6 foot to 8 foot, right? You also want a little bit bigger of a tablecloth just so that it can drape over the front of your table. That way you can stash like unused bags or luggage or inventory underneath the table, and you can also hide your feet from the public because feet pics are not free. I'm just kidding. But I found this cute pink gingham tablecloth at Target for about like $10, $11. It was on sale and it fits 8-foot and 6-foot tables. And I really like this one because I feel like it complements my booth really well. You can get like a plain black one or a plain white one, but I don't suggest getting one with like really complicated patterns because it'll make your items not stand out. And your items that you're gonna sell are the star of the show. You might also want to get a large, like very light-weighted bedsheet cover. It's just a large piece of fabric. This is because if you're doing a convention that lasts for more than one day, like, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, you'll want to cover up your setup overnight. Also, depending on your display, you might want to get some clips to secure the blanket on like the sides of your display. If you don't have a high display, but it's like a lower display, you can just drape it over and, you know, no clips needed. Now, what is the purpose of this? In my opinion, it is to, first of all, indicate that your shop is closed or that you haven't arrived in the morning to open up the shop. And second of all, I think it is an okay way to deter theft. Now, does it really prevent theft? Well, I'm gonna tell you what my post office lady told me when I thought I didn't tape up my package like enough. She said if someone really wants it, they're gonna find a way to get it. So although it doesn't like 100% prevent theft, it might deter theft. If the thief can't see what they want, they're not tempted to take it, right? And also, if the thief is lazy and you have a drape over, they probably won't be willing to like go underneath the covers and take what they want, or like just, it's a lot of trouble, right? So you're just making it difficult for them to steal and hope that they give up. Which, by the way, you should look carefully in the convention policy to say if it's a locked convention overnight, if there's security overnight, or if it's like just open and free. Because there's some conventions where like the artist alley or the vendor rooms aren't locked. So just read the policy really well. In the beginning, I used to give out business cards, but they run out really fast. And I feel like 50% of the time, people just end up throwing away the business cards. Like they'll hold on to it for a while, and then later in the future, they're like, why do I even have this, and throw it away? Maybe I'm calling myself out here, but that's why I now have a sign on my display that people can take pictures of, and it'll be saved in their phone instead, you know, and I don't waste business cards. I'm actually going to update this one soon so that I can add a QR code as well. But if people ask me if I have a business card, I do give them one. Oh, and I do add business cards to my packaging. I have 2 separate boxes as a handmade crafter. This one is for my handmade products. So in my handmade packets, I have a business card, and I also have a care instruction card. And then for my manufactured products, like acrylic keychains and lanyards and stuff, I have just a business card. If you are going to display a shop sign, I do recommend that you set it above your display rather than like on the table. You can do both, that's totally fine too, but the problem with doing it just in front of the table is that when you have a large crowd huddling up, people can't see your shop sign. It gets covered by all the bodies, right? As opposed to if you have it on top, even if you have a large crowd in front of your table, people can see your shop sign. And if there are people that are specifically looking for your booth, they can easily see it. They won't just pass by and miss you. I've had a lot of people tell me that they appreciate that I label price tags on all of my items. And I also understand that sentiment because I also dislike it when I'm shopping at a store and some items are priced and some items aren't priced, and it's typically the items that I'm interested in that aren't priced. And I don't like this because 1, it makes me anxious, and 2, it makes me suspicious that the seller did this on purpose so that they can call out possibly a higher price, or like a higher price than normal, depending on how they judge me. And you know, when you do ask for the price, you get kind of put on the spot. So I end up just saying in my head like, fuck it, I'm not gonna buy it. I don't know, it makes me maybe irrationally angry a little bit and paranoid. Anyways, I do also recommend that you put the dollar sign in front of the number because I think the second time I just wrote the number to save space, and I assumed that people would see these numbers and know that it was the price. However, a lot of people kept asking me how much is this, how much is that, and I realized that on their end they probably don't want to assume anything either, and so it wasn't clear. And ever since then I started adding the dollar sign with the number. If you are a person who makes handmade items, make sure to also label what items are handmade. I think it's easy for crafters to identify handmade items, but not everybody is a crafter, right? And even like my canes, some people actually don't know that these are handmade until they read that it's handmade. So for my handmade keychains, I will label it handmade keychains. And for my manufactured keychains, I'll label it acrylic keychains. In the beginning of my Artist Alley journey, I had quite a bit of people come up to me and ask me, what are charms for? And for those of you who follow this type of content, you obviously know what charms are, but people who aren't in the loop, they're not gonna know what charms are. And so I would try to explain to them what charms are and what they can do with it, but they always leave with like, okay. And since then, I've learned that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So first I made this little like example display, and now I have these. So this is a QR code to the video I made, but these are just some of the examples that they can see on the spot. And I've noticed that it actually really helped my sales. I think it really clears up a lot of confusions that people have about some of my items. And I think it also helps the customers, like imagine them wearing these charms or these necklaces or glasses chains or whatever, like, oh, now I can see the utility of this item. I also threw my shoe charms just into a bin for people to pick out. And because of that, I've added this example picture of what these are. Because if you just look at this like thing, you're like, what the fuck is it? But then when you see this, you're like, oh, I get it. Of course, not everything needs example displays like acrylic keychains or mouse pads or prints. But, things like scarves, clothes, photo holders, boba holders, toothbrush holders, chopstick holders, lots of holders. It's better to have a display or an example photo or sample just so that people understand what you're selling. I recommend getting a fanny pack to hold your money. I know some people prefer to have the cash box, but I just personally prefer to have a fanny pack because I can like have it on me at all times when I'm, going to the bathroom or going to get food, especially when I'm tabling by myself. I also made a TikTok reel thing about my fanny pack, so I'm gonna play it now. When I table at artist alleys, I like to keep my cash in a fanny pack. Earlier this year, when I went to Daiso, I saw this small divided folder, and the idea of using it to organize my cash better popped into my head. The fanny pack I love using has a pocket in the back that perfectly fits cash. So my system was 1s and 5s in the front and 10s and 20s in the pocket. And it worked great. But when $50 or $100 bills came into the equation, or especially when a helper is helping me at my table and things are just really busy, the whole system gets jumbled up. So I thought maybe this divider would be the answer. The divider itself has 13 pockets, which is more than enough for me to label each bill, including $2 bills, because sometimes I do get those along with dollar coins. And if I need to store receipts or small prints, I got that extra room. One thing that did concern me was the fit. As you can see, it is kind of big or bulky, but I wanted to test it out before making any permanent damages to the divider. So I tested it out over the weekend at OMGCon and at another art fair, and it worked amazingly well. It gave me no problems. When things did get a little busy though, I just kept it like this and nothing spilled out either. Now, I can't give you like a true and tried tested method of how much cash you need to bring because that might depend on what you're selling or what the convention is. But typically I start off with 21s, 15 5s, 10 10s, and 5 20s. You can also be like Almipan, who forgot to bring any change at all. And so what she did is in the beginning, she only collected exact change. And then later, as the event went on, she had enough cash to give change to larger dollar bills. So that worked really well too, if you want to go for that method. How you want to package your products is up to you, obviously, but just wanted to remind you that you want to think about packaging. Let me show you what I do. So you know how earlier I showed you that I have manufacturing packets and handmade packets, and because my items are small, I have these. So I like to use these tiny mesh bags. If you Google organza bag on like Amazon or AliExpress, this is what you're gonna get. And I like them because they are really cheap. They are so reusable and they're so cute. And in one of these, I can fit multiple small items. I don't know if these are recyclable, but these are definitely reusable. So I really like it for the reusability aspect. When other artists pack their products in organza bags, I actually save them and I reuse them for future packaging. It goes around and around and round. I do have paper packaging for like a little bit larger items or items that I need to fit more shit into. But these are like from forever ago. It's just that I don't use these enough because the small organza bag works so well for me. So once I run out of these, I'm probably gonna just buy bigger organza bags. Also, on the topic of reusability, I want to show you what I do with my ceramic products. I reuse bubble mailers. I try to remove the labels as much as possible. Like this one didn't remove very cleanly, but some of these other ones removed a lot better, but they're kind of sticky. So anyways, I reuse bubble mailers and I'll put my ceramic products into these and just fold it up and tape it or tie it, and there you go. It's safe from harm, right? I know it's a little bit janky looking, so I do apologize to my customers about, it not being the most aesthetic thing. But customers in America don't seem to mind at all, thankfully. Another thing I've seen another artist do that's a little bit janky but smart is reuse plastic bags, plastic grocery bags from Walmart. And I know in some states, they're not free anymore, but where I currently live, they are free. So I do like the idea that they are being reused. In some way, you might want to record your transactions, either for tax purposes, to see how much you made, to compare it to other conventions, or just to compare like how you did last year at the same convention. And people have their own way of, I guess, calculating everything. A artist alley friend of mine, she will start off with a certain amount of cash. So let's say, for example, she'll start off with $200 of cash, and then at the end of the con, she'll count how much cash she has and then subtract $200, and then also count the card records, because those are online, and then just add everything together, and that's her profit, right? Another artist I saw, she actually has a inventory sheet list, and every time she sells a certain item, she'll tally mark the item on the list, and then you can just calculate everything at the end. For me, I have a dedicated notebook. So this is how I format it. So I'm gonna have the convention name, the date, and then I'm gonna have a rough description of whatever I sold and how many, and then how much I took from that transaction, and then total it at the end. And then I continue until the next day, and just keep doing that. The reason why I like to do it this way is because I like to record my transaction as a receipt form. I kind of want a listed item of each transaction. It's just a me thing. And also, if you're bored, you can just doodle in the notebook. But whatever your method of recording is, don't feel rushed to skip it, even if it's busy. Customers at Artist Alley, like anime comic conventions, they are very understanding and very nice, especially compared to customers in the real world, in my opinion. The customers that I've interacted with, they know that you're just one human or two humans and you only have two hands, and you know, what are you gonna do when a rush comes in? You gotta just take things one at a time. And they all really understand that, and they're really patient. And as my experience as a customer at Artist Alley, when I see a booth is really busy, I will either wait for the thing I want, or I will walk around and then come back when the traffic has died down a bit. The one thing that I do try to keep track of, besides the transaction, when it's busy, is who came or who was ready to buy first. But sometimes it gets really blurry when you're not paying attention. And what's great is that then your customers will be like, oh, he was here first, she was here first, I was after them, after them. They're typically just really great. So don't feel too panicked or overwhelmed. Just take everything one at a time and you'll get through it. You're probably going to be missing out on a lot of sales if you do not have a card reader. I have mine like this. I stole this idea from Mint and Apple. Theirs is way better because they like used a Velcro thing and it looks so nice, and mine is just taped and it's a bit janky, but you know, I tell them tap your card or insert it and then that's the deal. I also keep a backup square reader just in case this won't connect to my phone for some reason. And also iPhones now, they have a chip reader in the phone. It's wild, but you just have to put the card chip up to the top of the phone and it'll take the transaction that way. So if you've watched some of my other Artist Alley videos, you know that I typically like to use these boxes to hold my inventory and things. There's clay everywhere. Okay. So anyways, I like to use those containers to hold my shit. And in some of those containers, I have like these emergency kits. There's some stuff that I've taken out, but basically it's just like backup tools. I have some like sticker labels. I have some display labels. I have a lighter, this thing, this thing, and like little jump rings and lobster clasps, you know, just extra, etc., that I might need as an emergency fix for either my items or my display. So if you crochet, you might want to bring some scissors or a little bit of polyester filling or a hot glue gun or needle and string. If you do woodworking, you might want to bring some sandpaper or some little containers of varnish, maybe a little bit of carving tools, screws. You get the idea. You might want to think about bringing small projects to work on during the slow times or the down times. I've brought things to crochet. I've brought activity books. I've brought more charms to assemble on the spot. I've seen other artists bring their button making machine to work on that. I've seen some artists work on new drawings or take commissions. I have yet to see somebody making TikToks at their table though, but that's what you can do as well. When I pack for a convention, I like to go through a checklist of items so that I don't forget anything. I'm gonna have my checklist in the description box below. Feel free to add or subtract that to your own, but just want to show you what I have on my list. I'm gonna read them aloud to you, okay? Phone charging battery and the cord for this to go to your phone. Don't forget to charge this. Card reader. Don't forget to charge this. First aid kit. Tissues, snacks, water, food, sustenance. A jacket in the car, stack of business cards, money and money pouch, a plastic bag to hold your trash because sometimes the convention will have a trash can nearby or a trash can for your table, but sometimes they don't. So it's nice to just throw your trash into a plastic bag. Packaging shit. Transaction notebook. Calculator, because most of the time my math is not mathing. Pricing paper or just scraps of paper. Several clips for the bed sheet, tablecloth, zip tie, and extra hooks. So I also have this pencil case. I know it's a giant pencil case, but inside this pencil case, I like to have tape, double-sided tape, washi tape, a lighter, pliers. This could also go into my work kit. Scissors, pens, and Sharpie. There's a ruler. In here, I have a small notepad, label stickers. I also have floss and glasses cleaner. That's just personal. And I have a pad in here. Hand sanitizer, and finally, an Exacto knife. I like to get these small ones from Daiso so that it fits more compact. Like I mentioned before, I like to have that little work kit just for emergency purposes. And in that work kit, I'll also include super glue and flathead pins. Now for a few words of advice. So this section was originally not planned to be in the video, but something happened and I was inspired to make this video already longer than it is.
Hey guys, this is Future Tomatoda here. As I'm editing, I decided to remove all the anecdotes and examples and just give you guys the main topic of my 3 advice so that this video can wrap up quicker.
First advice is to go with your gut feelings. If a convention is giving you red flags, trust your gut feelings. Another advice that I got from my seasoned Artist Alley veteran friends is that typically first-time conventions, you won't make a lot of money. And by first-time conventions, I mean like it's their first time actually holding the conventions. Even if they are related to a bigger name convention, if that related convention is just the first time like getting out there, you probably won't make that much money typically, not always, but typically. But a pro to a new con, especially if it is low risk, is that you can gain experience without worrying too much about the pressure and being overwhelmed. Experience is valuable and you can definitely take that opportunity to practice. Speaking of experience and practice, my last advice to you is don't be sad if you don't make a lot of profit your first time. It typically comes with experience and practice. Before I started doing Artist Alley, I went to an Artist Alley panel at Setsucon that was hosted by the artist Dagneo. It was very informative, first of all, but second of all, she gave this chart about like her profits over time. So she did start off like, was it negative or like low? It started off low, and then the more she did conventions, her profit went higher and higher. I actually found that to be true for me too. So what I'm trying to say is don't get discouraged if your first time selling, you don't do as well as you expected. Have low expectations and keep trying. And if you see an increase in sales, even if you're not making profit, that increase is a good indicator that it's just gonna go higher and higher, you know, and you'll have something to look forward to. However, if you don't see sales going up at all, it's like maybe stagnant or it's actually going down, you might want to change something drastically or give up completely. Everybody has their own talents. Everybody has their own skills. Just because you're not meant for this doesn't mean you're not meant for anything else. Unless, of course, you don't care about profits at all and you're just doing this for fun, then that's another story. Then you do you. But if you are wanting... Okay, anyways, I'm just gonna end this video. That's all I have to say. I hope it kind of helps you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.